Hello and welcome to Mostly Off Topics, second episode in 5-minute-ish monsters. Not going to keep to 5 minutes, but we're going to keep it tight. Where we cover monsters from the 5th edition Dungeons& Dragons Monster Manual, alphabetical order. We're going to just be running through them and just riffing off what it says in the book, what it tells us about the implied setting of the world, not really focusing on how to play this monster in combat or anything like that, but just trying to say what is this monster's place in this multiverse and how could you as a dungeon master kind of employ it in a interesting way, I guess. And then we'll finish off by saying, okay, what could you do to build a campaign around this? So it's just kind of a thinking out loud piece, really. So I've got the dungeons. So I have here D&D Beyond webpage for Aboleths, and this is what an Aboleth looks like. They're an aquatic kind of creature, and it would be fair to say that the fiction was written by some Aboleth, clearly propaganda merchant, because they talk about how fantastic they are. They go back since before time began, and so on and so forth. But they're a CR10 creature with insufficient hit points, really, if you're going to kind of like buy into all of that ability. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you could kind of use these. So let's just have a little look at this. So we find out that there were mortals before the gods were created or arrived or what have you, which is completely the opposite of most creation myths. Aboleths controlled these mortals from their underground lakes and oceans. So back in the day, their psionics had no meaningful limitation to it. They could reach out with their minds. They could control these mortals. Because the Aboleths couldn't really leave their lakes, because they're really aquatic creatures, so they can breathe air. That's not really where they're about. They're found in water. They can remember everything. They've got flawless memories, and they pass this knowledge on from generation to generation, which tells us Aboleths must in some way mate or recreate. But Aboleths don't actually die. If an Aboleth body is destroyed, it gets recreated back in the elemental plane of water, kind of like demons and devils and such like. So why do we not have an infinite number of Aboleths with like perfect knowledge passed along? I don't quite understand that, but there we go. They can remember everything, but a lot of what they can remember is just the experiences that are fed to them from the creatures that they've charmed and enslaved. So those memories aren't going to be perfect facts about the world. They're going to be kind of like first-hand accounts with all of the kind of cognitive and mental kind of limitations that are placed upon those creatures. And it's only creatures that they've consumed that they have been able to kind of like take the memories of. And if they're deep in the ocean, there's not going to be consuming very many mortals, particularly since those mortals don't have access to clerical magic, because that's granted by the gods. So all of that water-breathing stuff isn't around either. So kind of they used to be really powerful, but they aren't anymore. So it begs the question of kind of why not? And I think it's because they're the ultimate kind of like procrastinators. They've got aeons to play out their plans, so it's very easy to kind of say, well, okay, tomorrow we'll start on reclaiming our empire. And it says here, ultimately, Aboleths dream of overthrowing the gods and regaining control of the world. However, they've got untold aeons to plot and prepare their plans for perfect execution. So, it's not quite ready yet. Do I have to? And if you scroll a little bit further down to kind of this artwork, that's a teenager getting out of bed mid-afternoon, kind of like, do I have to? So clearly, Aboleths, whilst they kind of dream of what they used to have, they're not that motivated to kind of crack on and get it by the looks of things. Now, if you look at the stat block, it doesn't support that fiction. These abilities are typically limited, 120 feet for telepathy. Creatures you can see for a lot of the other abilities. You kind of want to get them next to you to get the mucus clouds so they can kind of like, breathe only water, not air, and so on. And similar with kind of like the layer actions that you have, they have to be within the kind of lake or surrounding ocean that the Aboleths are found in, and the regional effects kind of go out to a mile or so from that layer. So it does allow them to use their illusionary ability to go a mile out to charm a creature to kind of get that, and they can then concentrate on that to try and do it. So if you're within a mile of an Aboleth, you can get drawn further in. But if you're in the deep ocean abyss, a mile's not that far. But if you're kind of like in the Underdark, for instance, maybe you can project upwards a mile. That's not such a bad thing to do. So kind of what do I like about the Aboleth? Well, I like the fact that they just feel like an aberration. They feel like they're kind of like alien in that way, so they've captured that kind of essence pretty well. And there are lots of abilities here to mess with player characters, to kind of have a place in the world, to be leading a cult, to be kind of like, behind the throne, to be kind of controlling generations of mortal rulers through. So if you can see an Aboleth and get them somewhere that they're able to use these abilities, then actually you can kind of have a kind of behind the scenes kind of creature that will start to challenge low to mid-level player characters. As soon as you're getting into the double digit for player characters, they're kind of not going to be able to survive, kind of really, the way in which it goes. So what could be better? Start to think about that kind of stat block. I would allow telepathy to kind of have the regional range up to a kind of a mile, I think. And I'll also be tempted to grant, after a character or immortal has been charmed for a certain length of time, they can then start to charm others. So you can kind of get that cult aspect, and they can kind of start to do that. You could also do that if you didn't want to do it by getting the charm character just to bring the people to the Aboleth. So the Aboleth can charm it, but I just kind of like the idea of this pyramid that can spread further from where the Aboleth is out into the world, out into the region, or into the country or the state, or what have you. So some campaign ideas. I've kind of touched on that a little. The cult of the Aboleth, kind of either for an evil game, the Aboleth is a pinnacle and you're a cultist working for the Aboleth, further in their goals, or for the good game, you're kind of uncovering the onion, layers of the onion down to find out what exactly is happening. And that could be almost a Cthulhu-esque game. There's aberration is kind of like at the back of it, and then you kind of find out that, well, hold on a minute, these are from another world, the plane of water, and you have to kind of get through there to kind of do that. Or maybe, actually, kind of taking a different spin on it, the Aboleth is a sage. They've got all of this history, all this kind of first-hand experience, all this kind of ability to kind of, talk about what used to happen, or why exactly did the dwarves attack the elves in the battle of whatever. So perhaps the Aboleth are sages in your world, and they get consulted by the other races trying to find these things out, or uncovering disputes and such like. Being lawful evil, they'd probably go along with this so long as there's a reasonable trade, but that trade's always just a little bit more than people ever really feel comfortable paying. So that's just a different place for Aboleth. So if you kind of accept the fact that they're there, accept the fact that kind of some of their fluff and fiction is more true than perhaps their stat block, just having the memories of the Aboleth available to you would be a fantastic thing. So I hope you've kind of just enjoyed that quick take on the Aboleth. Like, subscribe, and the next one that we're going to be hitting is Angels. That would be interesting. Thanks for watching. Cheers, bye.